할지라도 그 경기를 통해서 뭘 얻느냐에 따라서 분명히 팀의 질이 달라질 수 있습니다.
허무하게 자신들의 실수를 통해서 경기를 패배하게 되었을 때 서로 간의 신뢰도 깨지고 믿음이 깨질 수 있거든요. 그런 것들을 첫 번째로 해결해야 진에어다운 경기력이 나올 수 있지 않을까 싶습니다.
더 좋은 모습 보여드리려고 다 열심히 하고 있고 모두가 다 고생하고 있으니까 앞으로도 더 좋은 경기력 보여드리겠습니다.
열심히 할 테니까 많이 더 응원해 주셨으면 좋겠습니다. 감사합니다.
Welcome back, guys. I know it was a bit of a break there, but we're finally here for series number 2 of this Friday night. It is going to be the GenG Greenwings still looking for their first win up against GenG Esports. Still trying to be a little bit more consistent. They're doing all right. They're at the top of the pack, but they definitely are looking for the win tonight.
Bit of desperation on both sides, SpoTV says. Same goal, but for vastly different reasons. On the side of GenG, just desperate. They were so close to their first match win last time out against an Afreeca lineup. Looked a bit anemic, couldn't get over the line. Afreeca closed it out. Now they're facing GenG, who have been very unconvincing for a team who, scoreline-wise, stat-line-wise, they've only dropped one match against KT, but that was very one-sided, and some of their recent wins have been unconvincing.
Yeah, a little bit of floundering. They're not the super strong, dominant team that we would expect based on what we saw out of them when they first showed up here in summer, but definitely looking for that win tonight. I would expect them to take it, but GenG getting closer and closer. I think game 1 is certainly going to be very important for the direction of this series.
For me, picks and bans are the most important thing when I'm thinking about GenG, because the recent trend for me is after Ezreal Tahm-Kench, after Comfort, some of those small champion pool issues that have always plagued Samsung Galaxy into KSV into GenG seem to be cropping up again. I'm not convinced by the Cogmore comps. They've tried to run a couple of times. I'm not convinced by really much outside of the Ultra Comfort. So show me some new stuff. Make me a believer. GenG being a strong team, the world champions being in the playoffs and being a contender is a great news story in and of itself. They still have to earn their way there.
Yeah, they definitely do, and we've had our fair share of upsets during the regular season here. I mean, you remember BBQ taking out Kingzone a couple of times in spring. Anything can happen, right? And GenG, they're on the up and up, whereas GenG as a plane are kind of going like this, you know, beginning to slowly head downwards. So we may have the two planes collide with each other, and maybe we'll see which one comes out on top. GenG planes seemingly pretty good. Let's see what they do here. They are on the left side, on the blue side, playing at the Nexon Arena. Going to be bringing in their normal lineup tonight, not Cacao, anything like that. Justice still hasn't played a game just yet. MT trying to get over the depression of the last time where he got so close but could not take the win.
The tears definitely would have struck a lot of people. The emotion of losing in such a close series. He made a big mistake himself, but obviously in the end it was a team effort for them to get close, but no cigar. Graves understands this. Grace, of course, going to be the mid laner. No sign of Justice yet this season. I wonder if Cacao will come in if they lose game 1, as to me game 1 is really the acid test here for GenG. Given that heartbreaking loss just 2 days ago, short turnaround, if you lose game 1, the sinking feeling is going to really envelop the whole roster.
Yeah, definitely will. You want to get the momentum on your side. Still looking for the first win, 0-7. Now in seasons past, we've had a couple of teams that were down towards the bottom, but not two of them with the same score. They're tied with BBQ over there. But let's take a look at GenG.
Sure, a lot of Crown fans hoping he'll finally get his start. He will not for game number 1. A lot has been said about Crown's absence from the team and some of his struggles in life right now, trying to find meaning post picking up that World Championship. Very sobering interviews to Crown out there, but Fly will retain his starting spot. Cuvée and poor JJ as well. We've seen one game among, but I don't know if we'll see the return of him. That funnel game where he struggled to make his trademark Jax play hasn't inspired confidence. I'm confident that Cuvée could play some more Kennen today. That'd be fun to see. If there are any Mundos against him, you best believe the little Kennen will come through.
I know you wanted to say many other words about the cannon, but
Rat was the word I was going to say, but
yeah.
we already have a Plague Rat in our game.
we can call him the Rat anyway. One's a Plague Rat, one's an Electric Rat. They're both rats. Cannon definitely a little bit more annoying. Haven't seen Twitch in a while. Don't know what's going on with the Plague Rat. He's also looking for meaning in his own life after not being played for quite a while.
Give me some Blade the Ruin King Rage Blade Hurricane Twitch. That sounds fun against tanks. It's my secret hope. We're just ready to load into the champ select very soon. And there's a message to Gibbs. I can read that part. Got anything else, Valdez? On the spot translation?
A couple of words that I don't know in there, but something because of someone he was able to come down to the studio.
So he's
and
hyped
thank
to be
you.
here then?
Yeah, he's hyped to be here. He says thank you to whoever his benefactor was. Give out an old heart to that guy, whoever it was. But either way, let's take a look. Remember what they used to be good at.
I do. The late game
Well-
was the playground for Jin-Air, but the late game when Teddy hasn't played a lot of marksman, where Teddy, on a marksman, if you remember, the third game against they lost last time out, I should say, was a bit of a struggle for them. It was against the Afreeca Freecs. He tried to come from a flank as Lucian on the side and then was taken out by an Aatrox, basically.
Yeah.
His team fight positioning is something we should expect and hold very highly for Teddy, and even that, not really working with the lineup, so a lot to tune back for the side of Jin-Air.
Definitely coming into summer, we were looking at the meta and saying, well, this isn't fantastic for Jin-Air, of course. Love to play longer games, love to play Hyper 80 carry games. Neither of those are good. And GenG says, long game, what is that? Their average game time is 10th.
That's the shortest,
I
which
would
is
have to say, yeah, shortest.
an amazing stat for the former Samsung team that was known for long games. I actually think it's going to get longer. This to me is, don't put your faith in GenG short games, is what I'm going to say. If that's your stock, if that's what you're really putting your portfolio around, maybe sell on the shortest games being GenG.
It's only because they haven't played against Jin-Air yet. That's probably one of the reasons why
that's
they
true.
have such a low
Strength of short
amount.
game schedule.
Yeah. Well, if you are good, just play 80 carry. Ruler saying famously that the reason why people aren't playing 80 carries is because they're not good at them, and he is. Brought in the Ezreal Tom Kents multiple times, and you guys can see that he has the numbers to back it up. Highest DPM, highest damage percentage on the entire team, and even highest gold at 15 differential in the 80 carry role.
He's got his arms crossed because you know what? He wants a C. It says AD. He's the only guy who deserves ADC because he's only played marksman so far this season. He deserves the full title. OGN, put it in there. Get the ARC going when we see good old GenG playing over at OGN. And here we go. We're going to actually zoom in on the jungle. Umti's Tears, we already mentioned. But stopping Haru. Remember, Haru is starting to. It's not Ambition starting game one like it was in their last series. Let's see how he looks, because usually when you see Haru, when you see Umti, you expect aggression.
Umti giving a little wave there. Says, hey guys, all of you out there. Haru just giving a big smile, and there's a lot to smile for him. He's had a very successful early season here in summer. Just all over the Rift, all over everybody. The one game that I'll never forget is the Camille game where he went bot, got a gank, went immediately mid, got another gank with his flash, and the game essentially just went GenG's direction because of his jungling.
This guy is super prepared, by the way. All
Wait,
sorts
there's
of things
more.
going on. That's 4 signs so far. GenG. Ooh, R-rated content over here, 19 and over.
Yeah, he's prepared a lot
Wait.
of different things.
I thought we were only rated for 12.
This guy didn't get the memo.
I'm surprised SpoTV didn't
He's
get
bringing
the...
in the lewd content.
that should have been censored.
Yeah.
Don't know how I feel about that.
It's Ruler with a little bit of a flushed face. Maybe he was drinking on stream.
Ooh,
Wouldn't be the first one to have done that.
Awkward topic, Valdez.
Yeah.
Let's
Well,
get
either way,
popping.
let's skip over that and get into picking bats.
Game number 1 of Jin-Air versus GenG. We are patch 8.12. I believe we'll have a pop-up tell you that there is no Aurelian Souls allowed. Turns out the old bug is back.
Aurelian Solist. That's what I say.
I thought you were going to say Aurelian Soulless, and I was like, that's a bit strong.
No, yeah.
We're going to see a Camille blue side ban as Umti doesn't want to first pick it. Guys, I think Umti's going to first pick Sejuani because that's the only Cinderhawk jungler he's ever really shown a penchant to play. So if that's not banned, I could definitely see first pick Sejuani from the side of Jin Air, seeing Coach Han giving some words to his charges. Waiting for the final ban here, quite a lot still open. Rakan, and not wanting to deal with a Xayah Rakan flex from GenG.
Yeah, it definitely feels like they've covered all their bases. You take away Rulers Ezreal, you take away Haru's Camille, and then you take away a little bit of the funneling because they don't want to go into that. And now what are they going to first pick here? Sejuani. How about Morgana? Are they on the Morgana hype train?
That's true. That's one that could potentially come through. Really?
Or they could give both away.
Trundle would be a very interesting first pick because there's a lot of answers to Trundle. In fact, Trundle is picked into Sejuani. And yes, it is the pick I said.
Yeah. Well, you win this time. Let's see if GenG wants to pick up a couple of the picks I was thinking about. Tom Kench for Core JJ. Seems like they're willing to play more than just the Ezreal with that pick.
Once again, for the viewers at home, the bug is the same as the famous bug with Bjergsen. The stars sometimes go invisible, and for a champion that always has the stars either right next to him or expanded around him, that's a problem. So goodbye, Aurelion Sol, for a while again. Hopefully fix Fate 13. It's my hope.
We're all hoping. It's nice to see Aurelion Sol come in.
Ooh, look who's here. This could be Aatrox.
Well, he got banned in actually both games. First by MVP.
That's because he's a new flex pick, mid lane and top lane.
Yeah.
See how that goes in this game. Flex pick Aatrox, another new power pick. We only have 3 match days of Aatrox, 5 best of 3s. So
yeah. I mean,
one out for good old Aatrox.
He was already strong in the top lane. There wasn't much to counter him up there. You could play around it, you could draft around it. And then now he's flexible into the mid lane, and he made it through 2 waves of picks, actually.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
All right. Now, if you wanted to play the Pyke, why not just Morgana at that pick and take Pyke later? That's what I would ask, but not every team is up to speed on the carry Morgana. Scrims and even Solo Q are in a weird spot right now is, okay, we understood the AD cannon into the Aatrox. I wonder if good old Cuvée watched it yesterday, saw Smeb bring out his old favorite AP cannon and realizes, well, whatever the opponent, I can find a cannon build for you. We see the return of cannon, fun to see.
Morgana gets banned. That's what we were waiting for. Surprised that it made it all the way through to the second line.
If you respect Teddy to be able to play the bot lane Morgana, which again is going away from what we've been asking, which is Teddy on an AD carry, but still, you want to get the most out of a Pyke, you take the Morgana early, you flex her to the bot lane carry role, Teddy plays her, and then Nova pops off on an engaged champion, and he does have 2 wins on Rakan, which tells you they situationally can make the big engages happen. However, now it's just a Pyke, and if they end up getting counterpicked in the bot lane, that's going to be a problem.
Lucian gets taken away here by GenG, even though Teddy is now 1-5 on the pick. There's not a lot that he's very successful on. The only winning champion for him on a team that just hasn't won much is actually Xayah, 1-0.
Would be a spot where you could consider Xayah to lift off through the cannon ultimate. Draven's always the dream, but Draven against Ashe is usually turned around upon when the Ashe arrow comes available. Jin Air, considering their options, are we going to see a Yasuo in the bot lane? We're looking for a bot lane carrier. Maybe Teddy's going to say, if Viper and friends can do it, I can do it. Seems like a Vladimir Pyke lane is what Jin Air are plotting.
Certainly feels that way. He hadn't played the Yasuo just yet, so it's going to be interesting to see if he actually did pick that one up. But thinking about the combination,
it's a blind pick mid laner that we're looking for from the side of Jin Air. Swain's open, so he is the safest and most reliable. And there's certainly going to be team fights where people line up for him to get value out of his ultimate. Oh, okay, we're not doing that. We're going for the Yasuo. Let's see who's in the mid lane after all this. Maybe we don't even know on the side of Jin Air until the 5 champions are locked in from GenG which one it will be. Yasuo has the setup from the Dark Flight, the Q from the Sejuani, and also the Bone Skewers. Quite a lot of synergy there. And GenG see this. Fly, another person we'd ask for new strategies from, does have a lot of people to bounce on top of because he has the cannon initiation. We're actually going to see another game of the Galio. So the question is still posed, is it just going to be Cleanse Yasuo in the mid lane, or will it actually be the Pyke Yasuo duo bot lane?
well, Grace has played one game of Yasuo, and it is one of the only champions that he has a win on. There are 9 champions, I was mentioning this before, that he is 0-1 on. He's tried 9 different champions, and he's just thrown them to the wayside and said, nope, not going to play those anymore. And he's going to go back to his old and trusty Yasuo, most likely here in the mid lane against the Galio. And, well, the Galio, lots to be inspired about recently, especially with a good old 5-man taunt yesterday.
Post Phantom Dancer, you actually have quite a lot of kill pressure onto Galio, who's going to itemize health and ability power in the early game. You'd imagine Cleanse will be taken. We won't know till we get into game. I imagine the confirmation of that, unless we leave this open to the final second. Let's wait and see. Ignite is optimistic, but QSS will be a very natural itemization choice. Maybe we're going to see a lot of ganks from Sejuani into the mid lane to make the Ignite work. But Grace on the Yasuo can work into the Galio, but you see a lot of synergy here, a lot of engage on the side of GenG. They get going, there might be a couple of people popping on the side of Jinair.
Yeah, Riller definitely has a nice big front line and just stuff to distract, especially if they do get ahead. The Galio in front, he's got a Devour to help him out with Ash's lack of escapes, and then you have Cuvée and Haru just running at the enemy. So if they're ahead, I can see this composition just going from, you know, front to back and pummeling through them. Whereas if Jinair gets ahead, maybe they could get into that back line and actually catch Ruler on the Ashe. It's all left to be seen here, but the countdown has started, guys. So we're going to jump into game number 1 of Jinair Greenwings versus GenG. GenG coming in with the big tier. Definitely have to feel good about their position so far in LCK, even though their plane might have been wobbling a little bit up towards the top still at 5-1 as a record.
I'm not happy with Fly's position because this guy refuses to do the chicken dance on Galio 2 games in a row.
Someone's going to have to talk to this guy. That's actually not okay.
Hidden feature, not going to be exploited. Looking over the runes, we are looking at Cuvée. He's the most important one to look at. Notice that he's gone press the attack. When we saw AP Cannon coming through from old mate Smeb, that was with unsealed spellbooks. So we're thinking it's going to be AD Cannon coming through from Cuvée once again. AD is kind of a strong word. It was Blade the Ruin King, Rageblade, Hybrid Cannon. But all about the auto attack. Still a lot of CC and team fights, but a lot more split push threat. And maybe the ability to handle Aatrox post a couple of items, because if you go ability power, a lot of 1v1 laners can eventually chase and kill you.
Yeah. You take a look at GenG, they have 4 members with secondary sorcery. Kind of interesting to see that come all the way through, especially with all the inspiration and stopwatches we've been seeing. These members on GenG do not want to pick them up.
It's another game with only 1. If I had to look for stopwatches, I only spy 1. That's on to Nova on the good old Pike, so that's a bit of a surprise. People are kind of incredulous at the Ashe pick, I think, because Ashe isn't really thought of as one of the marksmen you can run. As actually Call JJ gonna take a ride under the turret for just a single shot, then back away. You usually think Ezreal, Lucian, Kai'Sa, Rageblade champions, tier champions, not an Ashe, who probably will go Infinity Edge eventually, maybe 3rd item. Reason for the Ashe is very strong in the early levels. Level 1 especially, you almost always win the race to level 2, regardless of your support, because the double kind of wizard, or the wizard and the Nova here on the Pike, just can't really approach and have any skills to outrange the volley. So because of that, you get level 2, you have a lot of utility, and you really allow someone like Haru, an aggressive jungler, the hawk shot, the ability to actually get a lot of information about the enemy jungler. And on a patch where scuttles and in general, the jungle tracking can be so important, those little intangibles put the Ashe over the line.
Yeah, it's all about all that utility and everything else that she has alongside of it. And speaking of scuttles, both the junglers are going to split it 1 and 1. Nobody's going to get ahead in that fact, even though Umti just cleared the entire top side of his, or rather Haru, I should say, cleared the entire top side of his jungle and then backed and then went to the scuttle.
Turret dive could definitely be on the top side, but Sejuani has disengaged. It's turning on to Nova.
Ooh.
Always very squishy on the Pike. Turret dive onto Kennen, pre The ultimate is always very alluring, low base stats, and the Aatrox gets the free turret reset with his passive. Looking at history, has been pretty one note to the side of GenG, apart from summer last year, where there was a couple of victories for the side of Jinna. I bet some of those games were pretty long.
They were long. I remember summer last year, here at least, I was casting with Crumbs. Good old Crumbs. The man we lost to another game, but lost in time were those games, those super long games where it felt like the 50-minute games were just the norm of the LCK in 2017. If you weren't getting like at least 40 minutes, well, it was a weird game because it ended too fast.
The sequel was 8.1, which was exactly the same in spring season. So something about those long games. And again, I did predict in our first game of the day that I think games are going to get longer. I don't feel good to predict that. It does feel like the way things are going. There's more of incentive to go for AD Cannon than there was previously, because now when you come out of Lightning Rush, you don't keep the magic resistant armor for as long, but you get actually a huge injection of attack speed, which can be very big for an auto attack build. Omti clearly spotted by Cuve as, uh-oh, Haru's coming.
Oh, can he get on top of him? Yes, he can. Even a TP coming in here from Fly. Let's see if they can get on top of this guy who has already flashed. The taunt flash from Fly could do the job. Let's see if they go for it. There it is. Hopping on in, and with the pillar should be an easy first blood. Gonna hand that one over to Cuve.
Omti could clearly tell that Cuve knew something was up because Cuve stopped hitting the minions and yet tried to recall on the brush. That was much more than 50% likely to be warded. So that was actually some pretty curious play there from Omti, as Nova hits a nice little bone skewer.
Definitely a bit of a mistake. Went up there once, was looking for a potential dive, went up there twice, and Cuve would not be fooled the second time.
And AD Cannon is always going to auto-attack minions. What it's about. Is there a champion? Auto-attack him. Is there a turret? Auto-attack him. Is there a minion? Auto-attack him. You just always auto-attack. He backs away. Omti goes for a very greedy back spot. And look, it did require Fly to teleport in. But it's just Academic who's going to pick up the kill credit for GenG. And a pretty big mistake from Omti.
Definitely not one to go home and tell your mother about that one. That's not one you want to show off to the rest of your friends. Definitely one to forget about. So we'll see if he can as we move on in this game. Definitely Umti, one of our more, I would say, inconsistent. Sometimes he is just popping off like a madman. He's in your face. He's like mini Peanut, super aggressive, outplaying you, very mechanically skilled jungler. And then other times you're like, what is this guy doing? Why is he there? What's going on with him? And then, you know, he might get a little bit sad. It's hard to see sometimes with Umti.
To me, I think a lot of people look at Umti and be like, oh, he's just bad. And that's definitely, given how much they lose, a premise that you can't just 100% refute and say 0% chance. To me, I see a good, talented player in Umti. I see an aggressive mindset, and he feels like a good actor who's miscast. It feels like he's in the wrong role, which is Jin Air jungler. To me, it needs to be a defensive jungler. To me, it's, well, it doesn't really matter about the early game, but Teddy could get 5 stacks of Gathering Storm and make something happen. I think on a different team with experienced players and shot callers, a captain who's not Sowan, who has actually less than 100 pro games in his career, Umti could actually be one of the big stars of the league. But when it comes to the eye test, when it comes to his games, we see the critical mistakes because he's usually trying something aggressive, and every lane he's going to is defensive at best.
Yeah, he definitely sometimes, for that reason, looks a little bit out of sync. But perhaps it's the rest of everybody else that's wrong. But either way, looking for an opportunity here towards the mid lane. He knows that Fly's flash is down. Doesn't have flash himself, but that could definitely be a target he could blow up with a level 7 Yasuo with the Ignite you were talking about a bit earlier.
Not sure if Kennen was spotted on a ward, but it's really smart by Cuve.
Yeah, he saw him there coming up, but now Cuve is going to be caught and gets hit by the Dark Flight. And, well, see you later. He had his flash, but no opportunity to get out of that one.
First thought of I might be getting ganked, a smart one. The face check, the melee range ward, that one, not as smart from Cuve, so he does go down. You can return to this lane again and again as the Sejuani every time ults up as bot lane. Nova just has a bit of a shout.
Yeah, what's happening there? At least for GenG, they can write off that mistake and say, hey, write that off like a tax deduction and pick up the Cloud Drake down in the bottom side.
Mike comes through, picks it up. Game's still pretty even between the two teams, which, when you look at the late game, I always kind of vote against the Galio comp and look for the Yasuo comp. Juve getting ganked. Again, the actual stepping away from the minion wave was smart, but walking up into the only spot where he could go down. Don't know where his gold value was at. Maybe you need to stay to get a big purchase, but ends up going down. Looks a bit silly from that. I think late game, it'll be really intriguing. Usually you want to say the marksman team, but Vladimir and Ash kind of have similar relevance. I'd probably say Vladimir in the late game. I also think that Yasuo was very optimistic to go Ignite, but I think it's the sort of game that Yasuo could definitely cleave through many people at 3 items. But getting to 3 items against Ken and Galio is so hard. We saw Griffin try against KT to outlast a comp that was pretty similar to GenG's, who were also running the majority of these champs over that series. With this much initiation, you're out of step for 1 moment, you just die.
Looking to beat this bottom lane from Jinner. Nice sidestep on the arrow. Ruler is going to be hemoplagued up here, but the Ignite comes in. Haru's looking for the engage. Umti's here, though. Looking to engage now onto Haru. Nova gets pretty low, has that stopwatch we mentioned earlier on. That's actually going to save his life.
Definitely a game of chicken there when it came to stopwatch use, when it came to ultimate use. In the end, looks like both bot lanes will be able to stay. No one falls low enough to completely go down. Interesting stuff between the two. Much more parity once again. Bit of a CS lead, though, being grown by Ruler.
They just have the life steal already. Cutlass just hanging around down on the bottom side. Now with no summoners on both Teddy and Nova, there's no way that they can be all in, and especially with Devour, they are super safe down there. Highest CS in the game goes over to Grace, who's actually having a really fun time in the mid lane so far.
It's actually really frustrating to play Galio against the Yasuo. Obvious mechanic is he surfs around and you can't hit the Q. That part's understandable. He also can just proxy the minion wave as it comes and just put it in weird spots where you can't get both sides of your Q from Galio to hit it. So you actually don't just clear as easily as a Galio, and then you want to walk up and order the waves, and that's where Yasuo wins a trade very easily. So as someone who's played a bit of Galio, this is a matchup that's just a bit tricky. You can squash him. In the mid game, you feel good. But as the game goes on, Yasuo has, in the early and the late game, a lot of options against a Galio.
Umti's been hanging around this top side for a long time, really looking for a gank. Smart ward from Cuvée. Might be able to spot him, but the sweeper comes in, and even a control ward, as Umti says, you will not have vision here.
Does mean, though, that bot side, when they get there, can be a little bit less respectful, knowing that Sejuani is top side. Interesting stuff this game. 700 gold lead, just incidental leads for the Ashe and also the Trundle, largely making up the gold lead. Rulo feels so good about finishing the Blade of the Ruined King on second back because it allows him to stain through a lane that gets trickier and trickier as Teddy gets closer to level 9. And this is an electrocute Vladimir, so the burst is even higher.
Again, at least they don't have the Flash Ignite just yet, so that's going to allow Ruler to farm up even more before that next potential all-in could happen.
Watching the Hawk shot, it will spot Umti. Starting the Rift Heralds, they know Sejuani's top side.
That means they can push into the red, and Nova's just going to watch. Haru doesn't even have to smite that, and let's see where they go from here.
Sejuani actually gave up trying to finish the Rift Herald. In hindsight, we would know that they weren't going to be contested, as GenG just trying to contest every camp on the bot side now. That's why they have a lane control. They have the Hawkshot and the arrow coming from bot. Tahm Kench able to walk up, so risky for Jinner to re-invade bot side. They just got a kill top. They could have got the Rift Herald. This is more risky.
Well, trying to face check in here means that the dash has to come out from Nova, but they spot Umti once again. At least the smite comes in. Has Haru gone too far is the question. The answer should be no, with Galio coming on in here. And now at the 4-on-4. Looks like Jinner is still ready to fight. Yasuo coming on down. Nice bone skewer once again onto Haru. They do have the Devour from the Tahm Kench, so at the end of the day, Jinner will just back off of that fight.
I just think from Jinner, the macro call here is wrong. You can play top side where you have a lot of a lead in terms of getting that earlier gank and the Aatrox doing very comfortably. You take the Rift Herald and no one's really going to contest you. Kennen and Galio don't want to all in as a duo, and you know the enemy jungler has to be bot side. Instead, you play around where the most members are, where the most gold is, where Galio has a very trivial job to just ult onto someone at your red buff and try to contest. You're kind of setting yourself up for failure, re-invading where you're weak, rather than just trying to play where you're strong.
Push to the bottom line continues once again, but the Hemoplague is there to clear out the wards, or rather the minions, as Umti is getting to work here on the Rift Scuttler. The Rift Herald, I should say.
That was definitely the loudest skill set we've seen so far, because Hemoplague's a bit of a shout, and then Pyke had a big shout as well, so not a big fan of that duo. will finally get the Rift Herald, so they once again move top side. Nova's coming in very aggressive on this side, but it's just for a ward, potentially for Sowan to come in.
At least for the viewers, it's very easy to know when the Pyke is around, right? He wasn't even on the screen. He was up there in the tri-brush as we were zoomed in on the turret, and we were still able to hear it full volume. So
I feel bad for the viewers that watch only the podcast version. There's actually a lot of LCK people and fans who've messaged me and say, oh, I listen to it in the car, or I don't actually watch the games. When the Pyke's so loud, it obviously is very distracting. So to you people out there listening onto your radio, I guess, let's call it a radio. It's probably your iPhone. Sorry about that. Hopefully the Pyke will be addressed in future patches.
Well, you got the Galio. He doesn't even need to fully commit down on the bottom side. Just the call needs to come in. That Galio is missing. They have to back off of the turret. The first blood turret gold is given over to Ruler, who is very farmed up at this point in time. Now they can just rotate into something else. I think GenG is going to have to make a strong push somewhere after a gank with that Rift Herald, or else they might fall behind. Looking for Cube here. They are going to get the engage onto this little cannon. There's the Dark Blade for the follow-up, and he's stunned forever. Another kill, a second one onto Cube.
The mechanics there from Umti gets both passive hits in as well, because he doesn't try to stack the passive procs that you can pick up. You always want to use the ult after you've popped the first one. Holds onto his cooldown to get the kill. They want to pop the Rift Herald. It seems like they're going to get the turret anyway, so maybe you hold on to the Rift Herald here, but there's tempo reasons why you might even decide to use it if you're MD, and there's also greed reasons of looking for a second kill.
And
now,
that is exactly what they're doing, but they got to wait 7 seconds.
They actually didn't seem to know 100% what to do. I don't understand why Sowan would hide. He could just auto the turret, and then Sejuani is already a bit of a secret. Turret damage is going to be all done in one fell swoop. Nice bit of gold there to the side of GenG, but it is answered by another Drake on the side of GenG.
It's just going to be the Ocean Drake, and they are going to get a nice big push onto this turret with the rotating pipe too, so might just be able to get this luxury turret up in the top side, or at least get a little bit of extra damage there. That's exactly what they're due. GenG is looking for some other plays down in the bottom lane, in fact.
See the Hawk shot. Yeah, they're just sticking around. They're definitely a lot more staunchly trying to contest this. Galio can come in at any moment, so it's very difficult for Teddy to go too Rambo in this scenario and not be turned upon by all the CC that GenG have. Damage onto an inner bot lane or inner top lane turret is usually pretty irrelevant, because returning to it requires so much wards, and for the Baron perhaps to be not an issue, as Pyke really needs to shut up with all these shouts. GenG is still staunchly playing bot side, though. They really want to keep control around the Drake and also around this bot side jungle.
Bone Skewer sails wide onto Haru, who is up 3 levels on Nova right now. Jungle on support does make sense, but Haru feeling good about his level lead over Umti right now as well. Just trying to come in here, and Teddy was threatening it there on top of a ward. He's been good about pressing forward and threatening engages from the Vlad. It is always scary. Everybody at one point in their League of Legends career has been 100-0'd by a Vlad.
And you know what champion is pretty trivially 100-0'd by a Vlad? It's definitely Ashe, because you have the tool to be able to dodge her ultimate, get on top of her, and one rotation, Ashe is very squishy. She goes down pretty fast. Do note the Ruler has, again, been staunchly an ADC fan, a classic ADC fan. He doesn't even take teleport most of the time. He goes heal, and when it comes to getting one rotation by Electrocute Vlad, heal will be useful.
Yeah, I mean, his words that he said in the beginning of the season were not just words, right? He has only played 80 carries. Ezreal, 5-1, Xayah, 3-0, Ashe, 2-1, 2 losses on Kog'Maw and 1 loss on Kai'Sa. So nothing else. And I would guess that there would be nothing but 80 carries in the future. She's pretty secure in that mindset. Another buff here stolen and won away by Umti.
You'll feel good about that. Trading control points from the one re-invade by Jin Air. Bot side, it's been basically vertical jungling. Top side, golden for Jin Air. Side of GenG have been patrolling around the bot side of the map. And putting an 80 cannon behind is usually a very good sign. We'll see what the second item is. It's a Ruby Crystal. That's just for laning. Again, it was Rage Blade as the second item last time when we saw QV. But you could go Frozen Mallet and just try to be a CC tank with the general CC that he already has available, and something like Frozen Mallet Hurricane. Kennen is one of those champions, like Kale and a couple of other champions that you look at every item in the shop and you say, yeah, this could work.
Yeah. Well, definitely he will need at least the Ruby Crystal to help deal with the Aatrox, and especially if he does get hit by the Dark Flight, he's going to need some sort of survivability outside of a stun. Thinking about an engage here, he's going to land the Bone Skewer onto Core JJ. But nothing doing, as even MT was backing off of that one. GenG seemed to have much more control over that area. So far, nobody making any big moves towards any other objectives. All the Drakes and the Rift Herald was taken, and no easy turret remains for either team right now.
Still really happy to see Grace going big damage build. We've seen some second item Guardian Angel Yasuo's just play too passively around the items they have. He's going Infinity Edge and QSS, most likely, maybe just Merc Treads, and trying to get in there and brawl. And there won't be many people in a side lane that can take the Yasuo. So Yasuo, only the recipe, which was 100 gold cheaper on 812 to go for the IE. And, you know, not a lot has happened. The mid-game comp has now crested the mid-game and not started the engage wombos. And you do wonder if another 5 to 10 minutes go by whether Grace can actually be the hard carry that so far this season he struggled to be.
I mean, they do have a decent amount of CC, at least, with especially the Galio and the Kennen, if they both engage on top of that Yasuo. But again, if the Yasuo is let loose, as you're talking about, and he gets into the back line, well, we better hope that Core JJ is on top of Ruler, or we might have a dead Ashe before we even see the fight start.
And Hemablake's there to make his item purchases even tastier. So there is definitely good news the game goes on. Like you say, QSS might be necessary, Merc Treads, etc. There's definitely fights where Yasuo dies first, but if he's not dying first, maybe multiple members of GenG are going down with him.
We're waiting on another Drake that happens to be another Ocean Drake.
Oh, baby, he's got it. He's got the IE.
He does. He's going to go back and buy it. There it is.
120% crit. GG, boys.
GG. That's what your Yasuo will tell you in the chat.
Hey, he didn't die getting it. That's a pretty good Yasuo. He had some lane pressure. He has the highest CS in the game, and he's got 2 items at 21 minutes. Could we ask for any more?
Maybe a couple of kills. That would be nice. You know, we weren't expecting too much action from Jin Air versus GenG. At least they gave us about 1 more kill extra than the past expectations. It always used to be 1 kill per 10 minutes, but at least we have 3 kills per 20 minutes now.
8-12 meta, baby. What we're looking for. I feel like we're close, though. When you see an item timing like that, when your Yasuo says, I'm going back to get the IE, suddenly, team fights you were avoiding are team fights you'll consider. But how do they navigate all the CC, all the pick? Both teams have to wonder.
Uh-oh, they're really separated here. They want to get on top of Core JJ. Galio coming in from the right side is going to sail wide alongside the arrow from Ruler. Bone Skewer now on to Fly. Empty getting caught up by a pillar, but once again, they find a decent angle. But the Tomcat shuts it down.
Big chunk onto Teddy, but he still has ultimate and stopwatch, so he can still dive in and live through an engage combo. So Jin Air still have a chance here. Makes something happen. Here comes the Bone Skewer.
Ooh, gets Ruler.
Even getting the Devour would be an important cooldown to pick up. They don't get it.
You'll notice that they're not going to use it, actually. Core JJ just waiting on that one, but Fly getting into the back line here is only going to stun up 1 member. Nice.
Oh!
And he gets a 3-man last breath
They're all
the back line. And, well, That's a ton of damage onto Ruler, Core JJ, and the rest of everybody on GenG. That was perfect from Grace. It's almost like Fly baited him into it, and it was the perfect engage.
The moment you see that engage, you know it's a one-team fight for Jin. Impossible for them to lose it. Really nicely executed. Core JJ, evacuation successful. He'll get away. He'll eat for another day. And Jin push through mid lane. They're going to get the mid lane out of turret.
Nicely done. Maybe the Yasuo is the answer for Grace. He's 1-0 on the pick amongst a team right now that's 0-7 in series. He's definitely looked really good on the Yasuo so far whenever he plays it. Now he's got 3 assists. Unfortunately, no kills, but he's going to go back, buy more items, get more fed, and he even has a red buff.
I must admit, my notes for Grace this game was Zoe, Yasuo, else GG. You can see them here.
Yeah.
You can see them here. I actually wrote that down.
I can confirm.
Fly actually really misplays his team fight. He gets nervous, so he gets seen. He walks in. No, watch where he flashes. He flashes onto Grace only with no follow-up damage. And then Grace gets a knock-off and says, it's my birthday. I'm going in. It doesn't matter if Cuvée is ulting. It's an 80 cannon ultimate. And everyone's DPS down from the first wombo. I think Fly just really made a rash decision, and once that taunt was gone, so was the team of GenG.
I mean, he was already going to hit the taunt onto the Yasuo anyway. He didn't have to flash. You know, I definitely do agree that that was a bit of a strange one there from Fly. And he also lined them up perfectly. He got hit by the tornado and the rest of them behind him. Got on top of him. 3-man last breath. You have Teddy for the easiest follow-up of his life. And, well, there you go. At the end of the day, Ruler did the most damage in the fight.
Come on, it's 100 more than the Yasuo, and Yasuo had
Actually,
lots of
80
mates.
carries are busted.
I mean, he is really high in terms of basically all rankings. His team's doing well, but he's making the ADCs work, and you do wonder how no other team is also only ADCs at this point. I guess Prey is kind of on ADC-only duty these days.
Yeah. I mean, you see a fight like that where both the Tahm Kench and the Ashe get knocked up by a Yasuo Tornado, and you're like, well, I can begin to see why the 80 carries with no escapes aren't the best in the meta. Although he did do a lot of damage kiting, but that was about it.
That next item has a long sword in the inventory. You'd imagine Infinity Edge would be lovely, but as every ADC player has complained about on Reddit at some point, it is pretty horrible to build into. So from there, we can focus on items. Cuvée took aggression from the Ruby Crystal and has gone the Rage Bait, so sticking with the same build that he did before. It's why he dies so fast.
Cuvée not doing much in that fight. Got a couple of stuns off. He was able to pop his ultimate after coming down from the tornado.
Baron damage on the side of Jinair, if they can actually have the Aatrox rip with the Yasuo at the same time, is actually huge. They actually have a lot of Baron threat. They can also do riskier Barons because Windwall is able to negate damage for 1.5 seconds. We'll see what happens. Someone's a level up. Also has 2 items, so I don't think you should be too worried about Cuvée.
Yeah, honestly, liking the Aatrox in the side lane a little bit better. It's just been the Aatrox show here in LCK. Gets picked up all the time. And the current stats for Aatrox are 20-9. It was 18-9 before yesterday, where it got picked up a couple of times in the last series, and that went to 20-9 after winning both games.
The other important stat is, I believe, Don't Remake Aatrox is 4th on Challenger Ladder. We mentioned it in Game 1. He's given up on ranked. He's only playing Earth now. So
yeah.
His Aatrox is gone, and thus his ranked career appears to at least be on hold.
See, I highly doubt he'll be playing the remake Aatrox. I think that's the whole point of his new thing. Maybe he can change his name into something else. Don't remake Rise.
No, please, just remake Rise.
Good luck with that.
Death, taxes, Rise being remade.
Yeah.
Such as League of Legends.
It's gonna happen. Imagine if they remade someone like Yasuo. I think everybody would lose their mind. At least like the solo queue ladder altogether would cry out in horror.
A lot of people will get an extra ban in ranked. That's pretty cool. As Yasuo has frequently been the most banned champion. Jinair so far, they're pushing up Vision. Criticism of Jinair when they were way ahead in their last series against Afreeca was closing the game with a Baron when they were way ahead. Let's see if they can find a way to get that Baron, because they just need to be more decisive than the Jinair that we were seeing in that series against Afreeca. And being decisive as a bottom team is not an easy request. We saw MVP struggling with that in our earlier series today. So let's see GenG. Can they navigate around the strong engage on GenG, make a pick, and get this Baron?
Well, looks like first order of business is to try to take out some of this vision. They were thinking about it, but very, very careful about this. Coming in with 3 and walking over a bunch of wards. Still not having any inroads into the enemy base. Only 2 turrets have been taken out by GenG. That bottom one still sticking out there.
Probably quite happy to see Infernal spawn because more likely GenG will walk up and contest them at it. Seeing GenG mill a little bit, starting between Infernal control and the mid lane.
Oh, they're going to engage onto a Galio right next to him. Nice bone skewer, though. He's going to get a 3-man taunt, but Fly eating so much damage. The TP's coming on in. So I'm thinking about it, is going to knock up Haru, and Haru not in much of a position here at all. The Hemoblade comes up, and there it is. Last Breath is going to hit him up, and Haru does go down in the end. A slow but steady team fight won there by GenG, just pick after pick, and they get 1 man.
And that man is the one with Smite, so maybe it's Baron time for GenG. There's no Slicing Maelstrom on Cuvée. They do have the Hero's Entrance. They have insane damage, though. This Baron will die fast.
It's gonna go down really fast, not even bothering to take out that ward. They know that GenG know they're in here. It's gonna
Wait
have
for
to
the
be
taunt,
the 4v5.
though.
Taunt comes in, it is gonna be 2 members. They get pretty low here. The last breath comes in on the fly, but the stopwatch is there on time. Cuvée and Ruler kiting everybody with the help of Galio in the front line. And there you go, a double kill to GenG. And they're gonna say, thanks for the leash. This is our Baron.
They stayed on the Baron too long and end up giving up too much of their health bars. Ends up being closed by GenG, and they're gonna get the Baron.
Definitely a not like this moment, not what we wanted to see from GenG. It looks good after they get the jungler, but too much of a committal too early on in the game, and they pay for it.
And with the Slicing Maelstrom down, but still so much CC up. Basically all you get from Galio is CC. You need to peel earlier because so much health bar was lost to Baron, and then Ruler for once has no threat on him. He's able to free auto on the Ashe. They get the Baron, and you can see in the picture-in-picture, sad part of it for GenG is they even lose the Infernal Drake as well. Elder will be coming early. Christmas coming early for GenG. They didn't even know that they'd asked. They didn't even put it down on the docket, but they get a Baron for free.
Take a look at the damage in the last team fight. I wonder which team fight that was. Did that include the fight in the mid lane? I would have to think.
Yes.
There was a 3 or 4-man Hemoplague. That's why Teddy gets a lot of that damage.
They were never able to profit off the Hemoplague. It zoned a lot of people, but they didn't have the chase. That was a problem. Speaking of chase.
Oh, another Hemoplague comes down onto 4 members this time, so at least they will push GenG back for now.
Ultimate buys him a little bit of time, but the minion wave is getting proxied. The next minion wave is coming. That will be the inner turret down for the side of GenG. Very, very difficult to stop this one rolling. Defend your base way back at the inhibitor turret. GenG know they're 1 team fight away from winning this game, and it's been a competitive one that GenG have controlled for at least parts of it.
They're gonna roll with their wins that they did get in the last one, count their blessings, and just play it safe from here. They're not gonna push onto an inhibitor with the Baron. They will just make their way up into the top side, take out these outer turrets, and move on. This is going to be pretty huge for the side of GenG. They'll get their Kennen and Ashe to a place that are even stronger than the last fight that we had them in.
I'll get the summoner back on Ruler before the next fight happens, potentially, but otherwise Ruler has some good insurance itemization. Notice he's gone Hex Drinker, so he just doesn't get popped by the Vladimir ultimate. Looking for the siege here, but have to be so careful every time that 3rd Q comes out. Inner turret's probably not where the last stand will be made by GenG. Waiting on the minion wave, another minute of Baron left for GenG.
Yeah, they're sitting back, taking it very, very slow. Just saying, okay, Core JJ, you bring in the wave, wait for the cannon wave, and then push in with that one. They still do have a nice amount of engage. Ruler just coming in here and sieging it very nicely. They do get the knock up onto Ruler this time. It's still not ready to hop on in. And now with Cuvée making his way over, they really want to get that turret, but not going to overcommit. Just going to let the cannon do the job. Down it goes.
So far, no base broken. It's not a disaster yet. Cuvée is going to come in for an auto. Have to remember, not AP cannons. Probably not going to go for a chance ultimate. Minion wave from bot side is another thing to consider. Aatrox is shown. Do GenG try an Ash Arrow?
Not just yet. Wind wall is up. Maybe when it goes down, because they're going to easily take down this turret. Aatrox had to go down into the bottom lane. Here comes the pike. It does hit onto Ash, but look at CoreJJ. They don't even use the Devour. They're just like, I dare you to fight us. Going to get on top of this pike now, but here comes Soan. The People Plague does go in, but Teddy has taken so much damage. Really good kiting from the side of Haru. Galio going to jump in onto Cuvée as well, and the rest of Jin Air is just too low to go up against this team, and they're looking for the end.
5v4, but they have an AD cannon, so they kill these turrets fast.
Not quite going to end it, and have they stayed too long, you'll notice that Grace is looking for the knockup. See if he can actually get on in there with the Q. Not going to get the knockup here from Umti. This fight lasted a really long time, but it looks like GenG will finally exit.
GenG have a lot of wards on their flanks. It's something that MVP lacked when they were trying to siege in our first series of the day. GenG have the insurance, they have the information. No one is going for a huge opportunistic knock-up play. They take the inhibitor, they back away, they even get a Nexus turret. No reason to go for any more. Gonna watch the replay here. When the ults hit, you consider going in, but Teddy's already quite far away. Doesn't have his flash, so he wouldn't have been able to pair it with a Hemo Plague. As Yasuo, you never would want to be the first person in, and you kind of saw a future fight where he's got taunted and killed, trying to dive the back line, so it ends up just very staggered. Seems like Jin Air don't have a clear play call through this, and in the end, one person goes in, the rest disengage, and that means that Jin Air lose their inhibitor.
That fight, I love the patience from CoreJJ, and this time around, Fly is looking a lot better on the Galio. He made one mistake, but he's been one of our more consistent mid laners in the LCK for the summer split, and he shows it in all of the fights after that mistake. And he's going to bring it back for his team. Most damage in the fight goes over to Cuvée, actually, on the AD cannon.
So difficult to find a Vladimir flank in a game like this where map control has gone from ahead. They had so much threat from different directions with the Yasuo and the Vladimir. In a game like this, you can see GenG, they've got a marksman, so they feel good about sieging. They roll down a single lane, put wards on every single possible flank direction, and there's really no easy engage for Jin Air to make happen. If they see Vladimir, they know they are very, very safe when it comes to pushing up like this, and give their second inhibitor turret of the game.
Are going to get caught a little bit there, but turns out to be just fine. Cuvée just doing split pushing cannon things. It's the Frozen Mallet QSS. Teddy waiting around here, actually, looking to threaten the dive onto him, but with Elder Drake coming up in 10 seconds, Cuvée was already on his way out. And there's a pretty big wave coming in on the top side. So one does have his TP. And they may just send him up there and be ready to take a TP onto this Elder Drake. But
you just need a flank ward. Instead, he only has a defensive ward near where Vladimir is pathing to. No real threat from that. And now they're cutting themselves off. They face check Fly, who's just trying to control space.
Slow him down. Here comes the Vlad from the right side. Spellbinder and a 5-man Hemo Plague, but that is going to be Fly jumping on in, protecting everyone. Slicing Maelstrom, not going to hit anything though. Going to get the knock up here onto the Yasuo. Still this Elder Drake at 4,000 health. Looking to burst it down with the cannon in the ass, but Jin Air still waiting around. Looking for that engage. Ruler's going to get bow skewered in the front, but here comes Fly with the flash taunt, trying to kill Grace. Can't quite do it, and even the Elder Drake is going to reset here. A lot of GenG pretty low. Nice flash out of Ruler. Grace is also going to go down to Fly. It looks like they should be able to take out Soan on the backside. A double kill to the side of Fly, and Umti looking like he will go down as well. The TP comes into the base. It looks like GenG will be winning game number 1.
And if GenG prove anything, is that patience is a virtue. Double teleport to end the game. They never hesitate. They never really fully engage too early. They take that extra moment, they think about it, they reassess, and when they finally pull the trigger, it's the right time, at the clutch time, and that means GenG win game number 1.
such a solid team. There were some mistakes that were made in that game, you know, from Fly, from other members later on, but they push it through. They make all the correct decisions later on, and that's really nice to see, especially up against GenG, one of the weaker teams here in the LCK. You should expect GenG to look really solid, and they did tonight.
Better performance from GenG. They definitely weren't in control the entire time. I thought GenG were pretty good, all things considered. Weren't able to close the game. Made a couple of execution errors. The communication, clearly, the trust falls aren't 100% there. And when you're 0-7, very hard to install 100% confidence in all your teammates. Still going to be the GenG victory. Primed for the 2-0 here as GenG, after losing that heartbreaker 2 days ago and then game 1, it's a lot to ask for them to come back and reverse sweep a series.
I like the fact that everybody in the booth is actually calm. Even the coach is in there giving them a very calm talk over what went wrong. Umti, well, I say calm, but he's kind of clapping his hands now. He's getting into the description. Umti also sharing some words earlier on. I think it's a pretty decent one to go back and go VOD review and say, okay, we messed up here, we did this wrong. Obviously, the Baron fight wasn't the greatest one to look at. But guys, before we get into any of that, we're going to have a 12-minute break before game number 2.